I've walked away from deals that looked perfect on paper, great price per square foot, good cap rate, nice looking property, and I walked away anyway because when you actually dig into the market underneath the property, the story changes completely. Don't get me wrong, it's hard to stay disciplined, especially when you just want to close your first deal or your next deal or whatever. This is the part of underwriting that separates operators who survive from operators who don't. Market analysis, not the surface level stuff, the real digging. I'm Jeff Roma with CAE Real Estate Investments, and today I want to walk you through how we actually evaluate whether a market can support a self storage facility long term because the property itself is only half the equation. A side note here is finding a good deal should not be easy. I look through literally hundreds of deals every month. It's not very sexy at all, but this is how real money is made. Here's what most people look at when they evaluate a storage deal: the asking price, current occupancy, maybe the current rental rates compared to a couple of competitors. That's surface level. It tells you almost nothing about whether this is a good investment 5 years from now. What we actually look at starts with population density and growth trends within a 3 mile radius. Because storage is fundamentally a convenience driven local business. People don't drive 45 minutes to store their stuff. Then we look at the renter to owner ratio in that radius because renters move more often and need storage more frequently than homeowners who've been settled in one place for 15 years. We look at household income trends because that affects what rental rates the market can actually sustain. Then comes the part most people skip entirely: the competitive supply pipeline. Not just how many storage facilities exist today, but how many are currently under construction or have permits pulled. Because a market that looks underserved today can become oversupplied in 18 months if 3 competitors are all building at the same time. And self-storage construction has historically run in waves where everyone builds at once and then the market gets flooded. We saw this happen during COVID. We also look at existing facilities' actual performance, not just their advertised rates. How full are they really? What's their economic occupancy after concessions and discounts? Are they raising rates or holding flat because they're scared of vacancy? All of that paints a picture of what the market will actually bear, not what a pitch deck claims it will bear. Here's where this gets dangerous if you skip it. One bad assumption in market analysis doesn't just slightly hurt your returns, it can sink the entire deal. If you assume rental rate growth based on the current market and 3 new competitors break ground the year after you close, that rate growth assumption evaporates and your entire underwriting falls apart. Population data can also be misleading if you're not careful about how you're reading it. A market might show overall population growth, but if that growth is happening in a different part of the metro than where your property sits, it doesn't help you. You need granular, radius-specific data, not just the headline metro statistics that look good in the market report. And be aware, most brokers will report population density of the MSA, which will look way more dense than the specific market you are in. And the supply pipeline is the hardest piece to get right because it requires actually tracking permits and construction activities, sometimes calling municipal planning departments directly, and even sometimes driving the market to see what's under construction that hasn't even shown up in a database yet. Most investors evaluating a deal on their own simply don't have the time or relationships to do this level of diligence, so they make decisions based on a snapshot that's already outdated by the time they close. This is exactly the kind of analysis that takes real time and real expertise, and getting it wrong doesn't show up immediately. It shows up in 2 or 3 years later when you discover the market got oversupplied right after you bought. Now you're fighting for occupancy against 3 brand new competitors offering move-in specials. Think about it. This is why every deal we underwrite goes through a structured, multi-layer market analysis before we ever put a dollar at risk. Population trends, renter density, supply pipeline, competitor performance, all layered together not evaluated in isolation. That discipline is what separates a deal that performs from a deal that looks good on a spreadsheet for exactly as long as it takes to discover the problem. When you invest passively with us, you're not just trusting that we found a good property. You're trusting a structured process that's been applied consistently across every market we've ever evaluated, including the ones we've walked away from. We run a 5-layer market analysis on every deal before committing capital. If you want to understand how we evaluate a market before we ever buy, comment analysis below and I'll walk you through our process.